Hello, everyone. I am, of course, the Florida Paleo Libertarian with today's Supreme Court rant. In a 5-4 decision, the United States Supreme Court, with Chief Justice Roberts and Barrett voting alongside the liberals, have decided to allow the Biden administration and their border security agents to remove razor wire that was installed near Eagle Pass in Texas. This isn't, of course, a final ruling. This is just while litigations from the appeals courts continues. This is I think, a ridiculous ruling, as the fundamental. Okay. So the Chief Justice Roberts, of course, has probably ruled this way because he likes to appear moderate, because he's a total loser who doesn't have any convictions or morals. He had a great Supreme Court record until he became Chief Justice. All of a sudden, he has to vote with the liberals every time, so every decision is 5-4. And then once Amy Coney Barrett got on it, either Barrett or Kavanaugh have been a little weaker. Barrett has been pretty atrocious in recent regards, along with Kavanaugh, but for different reasons. Representative Andy Biggs says that when Texas was finally beginning to regain control of its border with Mexico, the Biden administration is going to go out of its way to destroy American sovereignty. So at the end of the day, the Biden administration has made it very clear that they want the borders open in a ridiculous manner, not through legislation, not even an executive order, which is one thing. They have decided to green light unelected bureaucrats to go ahead and make decisions that fundamentally change this country. And that's ultimately ridiculous, and as a big key point that Project 2025 and a second Trump administration really needs to hone in on. The fact is that unelected bureaucrats have went ahead and they have become ridiculous in their scope of power and in their scope of size. Unelected bureaucrats said near the start of Biden's administration that we're just going to let illegals in. We're not going to okay it with the Senate. We're not going to okay it with the state house or with the Congress. We're going to just go ahead, let illegals flow in, and nothing's been done to stop them. There's no amount of legislation you could even hypothetically pass to stop them. They're unelected. They're beholden to no master. It's ridiculous, and is a big problem with the growing executive branch in recent times, which is why I recently tweeted out that I think that as much as I hate the unelected bureaucrat class, that if Trump can go in and replace them with his guys, no matter what, his second term can fundamentally change the way this country is operating. And that is because these people are ridiculous. This is the actual ruling itself. Of course, this was done on the shadow docket, which is a whole nother can of worms, because all it is it's just one sentence saying who voted how. There is no majority opinion. There's no dissenting opinion. We can't even argue how terrible the legal theory is. It's one thing to rule in, quote, a bad way, in a bad way, but have at least a sound legal theory behind it. As much as I disagree with the ruling on Alabama being forced to have a second black district thanks to the Voting Rights Act, there is a logical legal theory behind it. But in this case, we don't get that legal theory, and we also don't get the dissenting opinion. I'm going to say, bold claim, that Thomas Alito Gorsh, maybe Kavanaugh might have his own dissenting reasons. Their theory would probably go along the lines that we are in a union that is built on the contract between the states and the federal government. And at the end of the day, the reason the union works is because both sides agree to follow their side of the contract. And when the federal government decides to not follow its side of the contract, things go south. Civil war. And as of right now, the border has become wide open, not because of the federal government's state legislature. not because the states have demanded it or requested it, but rather because unelected federal bureaucrats have decided it should be that way. And that's simply unsustainable. And I think this point by Trump here, from I don't know when, probably 2020, he goes ahead and he says judges, Democrat judges will go out of the way to hurt you, but if you Republican appoints a judge, they will go out of the way to show that they're not biased. And this has been a key crippling point of the 6-3 conservative majority under Roberts. Is it's not even 6-3, it's 4-4-1, with the liberals being 3, Chief Justice Roberts always joining the liberals, so he doesn't appear biased, so that's 4. Then you have a random amount of 4 conservative justices, and then you have either Kavanaugh or Barrett break with the liberals on one issue, whether it's race or immigration, because they just have to appear not biased. I really am not liking Barrett on the branch, but she was a rushed in job to get it figured out. Mike Lee, of course, is also criticizing Barrett. He says it's unconscionable that the Biden administration is expending so much effort to stop Texas from trying to restore order within its own boundaries amidst the chaos Biden has invited at the border. And it's baffling that 5 justices appear to be taking Biden's side. Now, this isn't a final ruling. This is still going to go ahead and go through the courts. This is just a ruling that while the lawsuit is going on, that Biden cannot continue to have those razor wires up, and that he can't be blocking border agents from stopping their removal. Go ahead, and Marco Rubio says, how can there be a border security deal with a Biden administration that just went all the way to the Supreme Court to stop border security? And this is very true. Democrats right now are trying to get their border security deal. You have the Lankford-Schumer border deal, which is in of itself a complete farce. I'm going to put it up on screen. It's ridiculous. And you have that happening all while the Biden administration and the unelected deep swamp bureaucrats are trying to sue to make sure that the border stays open. It's completely ridiculous. This is a poor ruling that has the silver lining that it's going to make Biden look even worse on the immigration issue, which is good. Trump has been leading pretty well. But that's basically it for today's little rant on such a awful ruling. There's no legal basis behind it. I hate the shadow docs. I could rant about them for a little bit. I'm not even asking for a 100-page opinion. I would like even just 100 words. Your vague reason you're taking this. Is it a 10th Amendment issue? Is it just on previous law? Where is your logic that when the contract between the states and the federal government begin falling apart, that you decide that the states cannot handle the border security issue themselves? Simple as, when did unelected bureaucrats gain the power to do whatever they want? But that's that, I guess. It's just a ridiculous ruling. Post millennial. Oh yeah, that was that. So yeah, I mean that's basically it with this ruling. I think that the states have the right to do it when the federal government fails. A lot of people are posting the Andrew Jackson quote. The Supreme Court's made its decision. Come in and enforce it. And I'm not going to argue for that exactly, but this is truly just a poor decision. To be honest, I don't know. I guess Roberts wants to look moderate, and Coney Barrett feels bad for the illegal immigrants, which sucks to suck. That's not what you're ruling this on. You don't get to make decisions like that. You get to make constitutional questioning, which I mean, the only way I see out is that they argue that, like, oh, the 10th Amendment prevents them from handling the border like that. But the problem is the Biden administration, unelected bureaucrats are handling the border, not the federal government in the way it was originally intended. It's unelected bureaucrats who didn't go through the state house or the Senate. Or I keep saying state house. Didn't go through Congress or the Senate. If this had passed under the Pelosi House majority and under the 50-50 Senate, where they specifically outlined we're going to open up the borders like this through this legislation, I could see a 10th Amendment argument here. And I'd probably have to agree with that ruling, judicially at least. But I can't see it when it's unelected bureaucrats. That's something the Supreme Court really needs to step in. They need to go in and they need to limit the power of these unelected bureaucrats. Thank you all for watching this little rant thing.
Get on a raft with Taft, boys, get on the winning boat. The man worthwhile with a friendly smile will get the honest vote. He'll save the country, sure, boys, from Bryan, Hearst, and Draft.